I'm Anne Alvares. I am a parent coach, a school counselor, a teacher, and mom of two. I am on the online prosperity show, and we are going to be learning how to be relational with our kids, how to help them with their emotional needs, and how to parent better so we don't carry the pain of our childhood.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we have an incredible guest joining us. Anne, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. I'm excited about today's show. As a dad, I think I was telling you earlier on, I've seen other parents, taking their kids to the park to games and everything else that comes along with it. And I can't even get my kids to eat breakfast. And I'm hoping just having you on the show will actually give me direction as to how to become a
Yes.
better dad. So I'm really excited about what's to come. And for those that are meeting you for the very first time, I'm going to take them out of their misery because Anne is a parent coach, school counselor, teacher, and a dedicated mom of two. So she knows a thing or
Yes.
two about
Mhm.
little rascals we call kids. Oh, sorry, those kids. I'm sorry that can be edited. And she's got over 20 years of experience working with families. And she's passionate about helping parents gain confidence in their parenting journey. But I'm tired of my kids, and I'm really happy you're here today. Please join me in welcoming Anne Alvarez to
Thank you
Anne.
so much. Thank you,
Anne.
Prosper.
Anne, I don't know if you can see the bags under my eyes. I haven't slept for 8 years. Please,
No, no,
please
no.
tell me what inspired you to become a parent coach, especially with the Masterful Parenting Program?
Well, I've always loved working with families, and I've been a teacher for so many years, and then became a school counselor. I've been a school counselor for over 15 years, and I work with families. I work with teenagers. I have two kids of my own. And I was just like, this is really something I enjoy. But I will tell you that I went through like well, 2 years ago, I went through a very rocky separation with my ex-husband. And it was a difficult time, like a really dark time in my life. And I did lean into God. I prayed a lot. I asked God for help. And then the vision of my life changed when my husband left me, right? My ex-husband left me. And so here I am now, a single mom, and I don't know what the future holds. So I actually prayed. I said to God, God, my life is yours now. What would you have me do? And his words were so clear. He said, I want you to be part of the healing of this world. And those words just touched my soul because I came from childhood pain. My parents were abusive, and I empathize with children who are struggling because of my own experience. And I thought, yeah, God, you know that I could do this. I could help people heal their pain because I've healed my pain. I've experienced it. I understand what it's like. And so this is your mission that I'm on it. I want to be part of this mission. And so that was then there was one night I had close friends over. I call them my tribe. Where they all have kids, and our kids all get along together. They play together. They go to the same school, and I decided to have them over for dinner. And after dinner, the kids went upstairs, and we stayed downstairs and we sat around the table and we started to share our childhood stories. And what surprised me was that each of my friends had a childhood pain story. Either they were neglected, they were abused, they were reprimanded, they didn't feel secure. They didn't feel safe with their parents. And it was such a great conversation for us to have, all of us to share that. Because I thought I was the only one actually, like growing up. I thought I was the only one with parents, like the parents I had. And then I realized after that conversation with my close friends that that was something that we shared. But the other thing that we shared is that we all decided we did not want to carry our childhood pain into our parenting and that we wanted to be better parents for our kids. We made a commitment actually that night to be better parents than our parents were to us. And that night, when everybody had left and I was getting ready for bed, I thought about, wow, if these four friends of mine had childhood pain, how many other parents are there with childhood pain in the world that need healing, that need help, that want to do better, that don't want to repeat the mistakes of their parents? There must be more of us. And that is the idea of masterful parenting came to me that night.
Wow. Wow. That is something else. And first of all, congratulations for hearing and heeding to the calling, because so many people are being called every single day, and maybe they're not in a position or vantage place to actually accept that calling. And I can't wait to, get to find out a little bit more about what you then did after that. But I just wanted to bring it back a little bit. So obviously, being brought up in a place or in a family where, like you say, you experienced what you experienced, um, how important is it for you to be the one person that stops that generational trauma? Because you're not going to pass on what your parents gave to you.
It's really super important. Like I actually made a commitment a long time ago because I realized as an adult that the way that I grew up was not healthy. Like you don't know when you're a kid. That's just your experience. That's just how your parents are. But then when you become an adult, you say, "Oh, there's another way. There's another better way that so that I won't be carrying like these wounds." Like my parents were very controlling, and so as an adult, I was very insecure and I looked for other people to tell me what to do because that was my lived experience as a child. Like my opinion didn't matter. I was seen, but not heard. I didn't feel like I had a voice. And so when I went out into the world, I didn't use my voice. When I went out into the world, I looked for other people's opinions. I didn't listen to my own opinions. And so it damaged me in that way. And I realized I didn't want my kids to experience that. I wanted my kids to feel like they have a voice, they can speak, their opinion matters, you know. And so I was very aware of that part in the raising of my two boys.
Absolutely. So back in the time, a lot of people didn't have as much information as we now have, or were as open to the world as we are now, predicated on the technology and, just the exposure that they had. The whole town would read the same newspaper, which had the same story of a missing child, and people would see
Yes.
that missing child on a milk carton, and everybody at the church or in the community will talk about the same stories. But now that we
Yeah.
have opened up and things like that, don't you think that your parents at that time were working with the information that they had in front of them?
But it's true. I do believe that we have been deconditioned or programmed through society, right? Society values compliance. Society values don't show a lot of emotion, like control yourself. We used to live under those kinds of conditions, and now we're learning that it's actually not healthy, right? We have to express ourselves to be healthy, and we have to learn how to express in a healthy way. because maybe our parents did yell, right? Maybe our parents did spank us and punish us instead of talking to us and finding out what's going on, right? This is relational parenting. This is really what I'm passionate about. This is what I do with my own children, and this is what I teach parents. I mean, I don't mean to brag, but I want to brag because my kids, I have never had to punish. And why? Why do I never have to punish them? Because I'm a relational parent. If I want something from them, or if am trying to correct behavior, I ask them, why? Why did you slam the door? Or why did you talk this way? And I find out what's happening with them. And then I say, okay, I understand. I understand why you were mad now. So what can we do to make it better? So I involve them in the problem solving and the discussion. And then I tell them what's healthy and what's not healthy. Honey, what would be a healthier way for you to express that anger? Like, I want you to express it, but I want you to do it in a way that you're not going to hurt yourself or hurt other people or break things in the house, right? So these are the kinds of conversations that we have with our kids because it shows them love. It teaches them that they have a voice and that their feelings matter, their opinions matter, but it also invites them into problem solving, which is a huge skill that kids need, right? Like we all need. How do we make things better? Instead of sitting in the anger, instead of being a victim, how are you going to make things better?
Right. Because so many people just go into these things head on. They uh how do you explain it? They grow up, go to kinder, go to school, go to university, meet the high school,
Yes.
first love there, get married, and it all just perpetuates, into a one long line of uh babies who just grow up into fully grown babies, and now they're having babies too. But what I'm seeing from what
Yes.
you're talking about is somewhat of a pattern break, which stops people from just going through the motions and stopping and breathing and actually not responding to a slammed door. Um,
Yes.
because that's how it's always been done. That's how dad would have responded to this. Now, what sort of tools do you give parents to stop and breathe and not have to scrap their kids off of a wall just because they may have done something the parents are not happy with?
Okay, so we I would say refrain from punishment until you know what is happening with your child because all behavior is communication and your child is communicating something to you and it is your job as a parent to find out what it is. Like what are they communicating? What do they need, right? Our job is to find out what they need and then give it to them. Now, the reason we have such a hard time with this is because we grew up being controlled. Like our parents were like, you're not behaving well, and you better smarten up, or you're going to get a spanking, right? And so we were so controlled, and that builds up resentment. It's actually unhealthy, right? Like nobody wants to be controlled. Like we don't want to be controlled by our bosses. We don't want to be controlled by our spouse, but yet we control our children, right? And that kind of we have to break that kind of pattern and that kind of thinking. Because I will tell you just from personal experience, because I grew up in such a controlling environment, then I attracted unhealthy relationships. I attracted men that would control me, right? Because I was used to that. That was what I grew up with. But it's actually not healthy. Somebody trying to control you is unhealthy behavior, right? And so we need to break that, and if we're carrying childhood pain, it's hard because we'll get triggered. We'll be like, oh, they said something about me. That was disrespectful, right? We get all mad, right? Well, we've got to be just like, stop for a minute. It's not about you. It's about your child. And your child is communicating a need right now. So we need to just, okay, if we can't respond in a healthy way, then we need to remove ourselves and we need to calm down. And we need to remind ourselves that it's not about us. Do not personalize our children's behavior. It's not about us. And what does my child need right now? That's what I need to find out. And we find out by asking. We let our child express because the brain is overactive, right? It's the amygdala, the emotional brain is not logical. So you can't problem solve when they're upset or tantruming or all that. We have to let them tantrum. We have to let them express. And then once they're calm, once we've sat with them and we're like, it's okay, honey, like it's okay. I'm going to sit with you until you're calm. And then once they're calm, then we can say, okay, are you feeling better, honey? All right, if you're feeling better, let's talk about it. Why were you so angry? What happened? Right? And now they can start processing and thinking because you allowed them to express everything. And now you're creating a safe environment where they can share what's happening.
Right? I mean, obviously, I value that tremendously because half of the time as parents we just end up reacting. Now, society may not have gotten that memo, and because if I
True.
would be in the shop there and one of my kids just starts tantruming and I may just sit back and read a blog from Anne Alvares while that is happening, everyone around me is definitely going to want me to look after that or take care of that. Now, how do you
Mhm.
then strengthen parents to go about their processes without the effect of what society might give to them at that particular, because it becomes, do I listen to people or do I listen to my child?
You listen to your child, right? Because that's your child. And we as a society have to stop shaming parents for their kids showing emotion. Emotion is good. Showing emotion is part of being a human being. And, if you're bothered because a child is crying, if you're bothered because a child is, getting mad, then you need to do a check on yourself because this is emotions and all emotions are valid. All emotions are important. When we repress emotions, that's when it becomes depression, right? When we're adults, because we were never allowed to express our true emotions. And so then we carry that pain and we can become depressed, right? It can affect our mental health. So it's really important for parents to know, allow your children to express their emotions. Be a safe place for them to do that. And as long as they're not breaking things or hitting their brother or sister, right? Um, or harming themselves, then we allow them to express themselves. Now, if they are harming themselves or they're harming their sibling or they're breaking something in the house, well, then you do have to intervene. And you need to say to your child, honey, I know that you're angry right now, but what you're doing is not okay. You can't hurt other people when you're angry. I'd like you to go outside and punch a bag or something, or go to your room and punch your pillow. Give them another suggestion, but allow them to get it out. That's the message.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
And that's healthy.
oh, fantastic. I really appreciate that. And what then happens when we're not there?
Well, if they're in school, it is a problem, right? Because yeah, not everybody is up to speed with like allow kids to have their emotions. But like I'm lucky because I'm a high school counselor. So uh parents or teachers will call me and say someone is really upset. Can you talk to them? And then I let them in my office. I'm like, you can swear, you can punch something, like just let it out, right? Just express it. Um, but if you're not there and it's a grandparent, then you kind of have to educate the grandparents too. Like I like working with grandparents too, because they want to do better as well. They want to be healthy for their grandkids, and they know that some of the things that they grew up with, it was not actually good. It was not actually healthy. But you can't control everything, right? But the most important thing is in your own home, in your own environment, you are creating safety for your child to express and not shaming them for their anger, not shaming them for their crying, even though you think that's a stupid thing to cry about. Like keep that to yourself and then just allow them to cry about it, right? Because it's their emotions and they need to express it.
Absolutely. That's beautiful because once those emotions can be released and they can name them, obviously in the future they can tame them. Whereas
Mhm.
right now we've got so many people in corporate environments who are still throwing tantrums and spitting dummies because
Yes.
nobody allowed them to vent their spleen. Now, you've been working with kids and teens, especially, throughout high school and things of that nature. Do you find it difficult to cross over between your own kids and other people's kids?
No, no. It's relational parenting works with everybody. You can be relational. Actually, being relational will work in your marriage. It will work with your boss. It will work with your kids. It will work with other people's kids. It's really the key when you're focusing on the relationship. It feels good when you are focusing on the relationship. Yeah.
So, in essence, it actually does take a village to raise the kids.
Yes, it does. Yes,
Wow.
absolutely. I have a village. I have a tribe. It's not just me.
That's pretty cool. And it's always nice. And if you've got, your emotions and everything else in check, you'll be able to have those people that you can count on and rely on, which makes it super easy. Like you said, you were sitting at a table and the kids were upstairs playing, and none of them were throwing each other out the balcony or through the
No.
roof. And it's all because of this sort of relational parenting that you've established amongst
Yes.
your peers. Now, while you're working with these teens, especially in high school and things like that, what sort of insights do you bring, from working with these kids, especially that then contribute to how you help parents have an understanding of these people that have newly found independence?
I will say over the long period of time that I've worked with teenagers and over the hundreds of conversations I've had with teenagers, there's a common thread, a common theme, and that is when we punish our kids, they never blame their parents. They only blame themselves. There is an internal dialogue in a child's mind, even a teenager, when their phone's taken away or um, when they are grounded. They think I'm bad. They think I'm not worthy. They think there's something wrong with me, right? And so we have to be really mindful that our kids internalize a messaging that we don't know about, as a response to our behavior with them. So we have to be so careful. I think that's the reason I don't punish is because I know this internal dialogue that happens. And I'd rather have a conversation with my child, about what I think needs to change. And if you're relational with your kids, like if you're always put, feeding the bank account, the emotional bank account, with your children, they are going to be way more open to talking to you, to complying with you, because they know, wow, mom loves me, dad loves me. I really want to hear what they have to say. I really want to do what they want me to do because I know that it's coming from a place of love. But if we are top down, where we're punishing them, they don't want to open up. In fact, today I was working with a teenager, a boy, and I said to him, are you willing to tell your mom what happened today? Because he got angry and he hit another student with a badminton racket. I said, are you willing to talk to your mom about it? And he said, no. I said, how come? Why won't you tell your mom? And he says, I don't know how she's going to react. And this is what happens when you overreact, when our kids don't feel safe, they will not tell you the things that are happening. They will not tell you if they made a mistake or if somebody hurt them or they were bullied. They won't open up because you're not a safe person, right? Because you overreact, you get emotional, you personalize. And so we have to be the safe place where our kids can come and they feel unconditional love. Like it doesn't matter how badly I screwed up. Mom and dad are going to love me anyways, right? That's what we have to create.
Absolutely. It is something that obviously needs to be learned a great deal, especially with the mix of cultures and everything else that comes along with it. In my particular household, we've got me, the African, my wife is Italian, and we've got the omelette babies that we've had to foster our offspring, right? So if you start looking at it, my wife would come in with her own sort of different parenting skills, and then I would also come in with my own upbringing, parenting skills, and half of the time it creates somewhat of I mean, obviously we do work as a team in some aspects, but certain things my wife would let go, and maybe I would be like, pick that up, that's not how we do it, and things of that nature, you know what I mean? So how then do you coach around that sort of dynamic? Because there's so many different, because each and every person is unique and different in the way that they were brought up. So it wouldn't just be one brush to say, just sit down with them and then they'll start telling you everything. I don't think maybe that would work with everybody else. How do you approach that sort of different background setup?
Yeah, I have had parents that are not on the same page with their parenting. And so when I work with parents like that, we talk about they're trying to change their children instead of focusing on the relationship with the kid, right? You're trying to make your children do things, but you're not thinking about my relationship with my child. And so, like, just to simplify it, we're going to work on relationship. Okay. So my kid came home and he was supposed to do the dishes, but he didn't. Okay. And so like inside I'm mad. I'm like, I do everything. This is childhood pain, by the way. I do everything. Nobody appreciates me. Nobody helps me. My child can't even wash the dishes, right? This is personalizing behavior instead of talking with your child. Honey, like mom's so tired from work, and it would be really great. It would be really helpful if you could do the dishes. Do you think you could do that? Like that's different conversation than getting mad and saying, you should have done the dishes and why didn't you? And I do everything for you, right? Like that feels bad. But if you are human and you say to your child, like, I need your help, honey. Mom's really tired. Is it okay if you do? What do you think? Is that too much to ask? Like, this is what I do with my children. They never say no. They never say no. And why do they never say no? Because I feed that emotional bank account with them. I'm always filling in the relationship piece, giving them like lots of love, doing things for them, not showing any resentment, like really wanting to spend time with them, really enjoying them. So then when I ask for something, do you think you could do this? They always say yes.
Right. So
Oh,
obviously
it's great.
you invest upfront, and obviously put them in a position where they now feel like it's part of the deal for me to continue to stay under this roof. I have to have.
Not not exactly. I wanna reframe you. Because you show so much care for them, they want to care for you. They don't owe you anything, Prosper. They're your children. Don't give them a job before the age of 18.
Well, I was about to ask, when is it socially acceptable to start charging for rent? Because if we can't negotiate, then obviously they'll have to do their own part, if on things of that nature. So maybe you've got an answer to that sentiment right there, because I don't know. We could start
I can I
invoicing them.
I can answer that because I have a 24-year-old. Okay, so my 24-year-old still lives with me. And he works. He works a lot, like 10-hour days every day. He's really diligent. And I had this conversation with him years ago. I said, mom doesn't have a lot of money to leave you, but I am going to give you a gift. This is the gift. The gift is I'm not charging you while you live at home, and I want you to save as much money as you can so that you can buy a place to live, so that you have a foundation. Okay, this is the gift that I can give to you. And I've had friends that they lived at their grandparents' house when they first got married. Their parents didn't expect any payment. So they were able to save quite a significant amount of money to buy a place, right? So I shared that story with them. And I said, this is a start for you. And because he's so like diligent and everything, he's been such a great saver. He's been saving like crazy. But he was supposed to buy something last year, but interest rates were just too high. And he said, Mom, it's too expensive for me to buy a condo now. So I want to pay you some of my paycheck to help out. Now, I didn't even have to ask him, Prosper. Why? Because I'm a relational parent and he loves me,
I think that's a
right?
I think that's a really good position to be, because so many parents might not have anything to pass on, but if you give your kids a great start, I think that will be much more valuable. And kudos to you for doing that. Now, you've got a masterful parenting program that you take
Yes.
people through. Could you just maybe dive into what it entails and what people uh,
Yeah.
can do to get access to it?
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I have a course on Teachable. It's 9 lessons. Okay, so basically 9 weeks you could do it in. There's three pillars or three components. The first component is recognizing what your childhood pain is, your childhood pain story. So I say pain because it can range from anything from neglect or parentification, where maybe you were the oldest and you had to look after the youngest siblings all the time, so you took on a parent role, or it could be physical, sexual abuse, right? Or verbal abuse. So, any range that you carry, so childhood pain is a pain that you carry from your childhood into your adult life. All right. So, the first component is we're going to heal that. We're going to recognize it. We're going to know about it. We're going to heal it. We're going to tell our story. Okay. Because we need to tell the stories to get it out. All right. Then the second component is wait, how do we connect with our kids? Right? What do we do? Because maybe our parents didn't connect with us. And so we don't know how to connect. Right? Like for me, I didn't know how to connect. I had to learn because my parents were not relational. So, how do we connect with our kids? And then the last one is how do we communicate with them in a way that they're going to listen, that touches their heart? So I teach actually that. I actually give parents the words. These are the words you should say. And this is how you're going to reach your children. Because I have conversations like this all the time with my teenagers, right? And with my own children. So I know the words that work. I know what works in a child's mind.
Mm,
Yeah.
absolutely. And how can people, you said it's on Teachable. Would we be okay?
Yes, it's on my website. So AnneAlvares.com. And I have I have the link to the course there. So you can sign up for the course. And then once you sign up for the course, I give actually support. So you can ask me questions. I can walk you through things if there's anything that you're struggling with on the course. So you get a lot of support while you're taking the course.
Fantastic. All right, and I just want you to comment on this a little bit. See, I'm African, and growing up, we when you get to like the age 13 or 14 or 16 sometimes, especially for girls, you are called in to, like a village center, and
Yeah,
you are, there's village elders, and then they proverbially tap you on the shoulder and knight you or call you an adult moving forward. So from there, you are now allowed to engage in adult conversations, adult education, and things of that nature, preparing you for manhood or womanhood and everything else that comes along with that. So, in modern words, they usually call it like a rite of passage, where we basically, just have that particular thing which stops you from, if I can paint a picture in the Western world where from a kid, if you sleep on the couch, your parents would obviously pick you up and put you back to your bed and, tuck you in. But after that time, wherever you sleep, that's where you wake up. You know what I mean? That's just how it works in my world.
yeah,
So if you're an adult,
yeah, yeah.
you're not supposed to look after yourself and things like that. So
Yes.
and don't have the idea of the National Geographic, maybe those ones that are a little bit abusive or whatever. They just show the extreme ones, but this is just like you sit around a fire, you're told everything you need to know, and it's sort of like a pattern break where people actually grow up, and then from there they now know, okay, now we need to take care of our younger ones, offspring, we can start families and things like that. But in the Western world, we don't have any of that. People just grow straight from spitting dummies and
Yeah,
throwing tantrums into people that also have
yeah.
their own kids, and there's no that pattern break. Would you say that your Masterful Parenting Program is somewhat of that rite of passage that then opens up people to then start taking full ownership of them becoming parents so they can present well and better to the people that they're bringing into this world?
Yes, yes, definitely. I think we like if you are coming from childhood pain, like I had very overprotective parents. And so I actually did not learn how to really be an adult, to be independent till later on in life because of the overprotectiveness, right? And I love that there's this like celebration, in your culture of becoming a woman or a man, right? I think that is so, so important. So here in the Western world, the way here's the thing, our kids will show that they want independence, right? Like for me, my oldest was 16. He wanted to take a trip with another friend somewhere, and I was scared about it. But I was like, hey, he's telling me he's ready. So I had to listen to that, even though I was scared, right? I'm so happy I let him go because he had so much confidence when he came back. Our children will be like, I'm ready, mom, I can do this, or dad. And we have to be like, trust them, right? We have to trust them. We can ask the questions. You can be like, okay, how are you going to get there? What happens if this happens? What are you going to do? Like we can grill them on those things, but then we have to allow them to grow up. We have to give them some freedom, right? Small amounts of freedom. And they will tell us, okay, now I'm ready for this. And we have to listen to that, you know? And then you can say to your child too, I want you to know these things before you move out. I want you to know how to do the laundry. I want you to know how to cook a meal. Because these are things you're going to need to know. And that's preparing them also for life, right?
Mm,
So the things you need, things you think they need, you help them with it.
fantastic. Now, would you say your son took a rite of passage by taking that trip. That was his own rite of passage, where
Yes.
you say he came back fully mature. And now, obviously, you telling him that save as much as you can, he now understands the use and the concept of money because we sort of let them go.
Yes, yes. I really believe, like, I mean, I'm not African, but I just love that rite of passage idea.
Mm,
Because he was ready to do this and he wanted to. And that's what we have to listen to. If our children are ready, they're 16. Like to us, it seems young, like 16 to take a ferry trip and bike ride to the Parliament buildings, like that's a little scary, right? But and I was scared. I'm not gonna lie. I was scared. I said, you better bring your phone and you better make sure that you answer my text messages to make sure you're okay. And he understood that I just wanted him to be safe, but I didn't stop him. And
mm.
that's what we have to do. We have to make sure we don't stop our children from growing up because of our own fears.
Fantastic. I like that. And obviously, I want to make sure that everybody else, just looks at this Masterful Parenting Program, because just from talking to you, there's so much that can be learned. And also, not only learning, but I've realized there's a lot of unlearning that needs to happen in the process because, just hearing what you're saying and how to reposition and reframe certain things. So many people just need to be constantly on this journey. So what then happens after this? Maybe did you say it was 9 weeks or 9 steps?
Yeah, 9 weeks. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We still
Well,
have these
I'm
kids for we still have these kids for the rest of their lives. 9 weeks is, yeah, it's all right. 2 months.
I you know what? I think when you are aware,
Right.
like like the first step is being aware, right? So when we're going through our childhood pain, we're like, okay, I remember what this felt like when my parents did this, and I don't want to do that with my kids, right? And also our children teach us. So if they seem quite upset or annoyed, then we know, okay, uh, the relationship is not good right now. So we need to figure out why. And maybe we need to repair. Maybe we need to say, sorry, I nagged you too much, honey. It's we have to be honest with our children about our struggles. So we can say, yeah, we have to say to our kids, like, I'm sorry I overreacted. Like, we're not going to be perfect. Nobody is expecting you to be perfect. Okay. No one is perfect. But we have to be humble enough to say if we did something wrong, was hurtful to our child, that we apologize. Yeah, mom shouldn't have yelled at you. I'm sorry. I mean, I have. I've yelled and I've apologized. Sorry, mom overreacted. Mom got scared, and she started yelling. So, uh, honey, I'm sorry about that. And then it allows our children also to make mistakes and apologize, right? To reconcile with us. So, yes, you don't have to be perfect. You can go through the program and you can still be learning, right? I mean, I still consider myself, even though I'm pretty good at this, there are moments I still am learning,
Mm.
because I'm not perfect.
Absolutely. This has been very insightful. And I mean, I was obviously at the end of the day, like we have established, so many people are coming from so many different avenues, and with it comes generational trauma that it only takes them to be, like you say, aware
Mhm.
of what's actually happening so that they actually break that pattern in order for their kids to have a happier existence. And wouldn't it be a nice world where kids can actually be open and happy and have amicable relationships with their own sort of parents? And then they can, yeah, definitely thrive in the world that they
Yes.
live in right now. Now, it would be remiss for us to have spoken about kids and having heard about your own childhood, and not to sort of kind of put it back a little bit and ask you this question. Now, knowing what you know now about the way your parents did and treated you, first of all, have you reconciled or forgiven them, or do they even know?
Yes. I have forgiven my parents. My dad died when I was 21, so I never did get to confront him. But um, I did have like a kind of like a spiritual encounter with him. He came to me in a dream shortly after he died, and I was crying because I was sad that he died. Like this is the thing with children, is even though you come from abuse, you still love your parents, right? It doesn't matter. They're still your parents. And that's how I felt. So I understand kids that still love their parents despite the wrong that they do to them. And so, and I was 21. And so this dream was so real to me. So my dad walked to me like through a cloud and then he hugged me and he said, "Don't worry, honey. I'm happy now." And so that gave me peace, right? So that was my making peace with my dad and also me forgiving him. And then with my mom, I actually confronted her when I was 30 years old. And I just told her, I said, I didn't do it in a shaming way because I didn't want my mom to feel bad, but I wanted her to know what my experience was. So I said, Mom, I just want you to know what my experience was, the way I felt as a kid. I'm not blaming you. I'm just telling you, this is how I felt as a kid. I wasn't happy. I didn't feel happy, you know? My childhood wasn't happy. Like when I look back, it wasn't happy. And so my mom I mean, she listened to me. We had a really good conversation about it. And our relationship has been up and down, but honestly now it's really good. Uh you know, she's apologized many times. And I even have to say to her mom, it's okay. You've apologized many times. You don't need to apologize anymore, Mom. We're good. We're good. You know? And I love her so much, But here's the thing, like broken parents, that's what will give us empathy for them if they were abusive, is because they were broken. And that's what's helped me is to I've learned as an adult what their experiences were as children. And they didn't have happy childhoods either. So there was trauma, there was abuse. And so the cycle continued. And that is why I have empathy towards them and compassion instead of hate, and
Absolutely.
bitterness.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no point in getting angry on people that, like you say, are no longer with us or things of that nature. Now, you did say you've got a 24-year-old right now, and pretty soon
Yes.
you probably would be very excited onto the new phase or next phase, which might come in the form of you having grandkids. And you say you also work with grandparents and things of that nature. What
Yes.
what sort of grandparent can we expect from you?
Me? Me? Oh, I'm gonna be fun. Gonna be a fun grandparent. Oh, believe me. Wait, I still have a 13-year-old at home. He's going to be 14 soon. They're 10 years apart.
Years apart.
So I'm still through the teenage years. I'm still experiencing the teenage years. I know they're hard. Um, but yeah, I'm excited. I told my boys that they need to make girls because I always wanted a girl. So I would like granddaughters, please, children.
Fantastic. All right. Now, finally, if you would give one last piece of advice, to a parent that's just been watching this and thinking, and you could say that, but you haven't seen my kids, what would you give as recourse to that parent?
I took a parenting course quite a few years ago from a pastor, Pastor Greg. And he said, we only have two jobs as parents with our kids. And the first job is to love them. And the second job is to teach them to love God and others. And so that stuck with me. So if you are behaving in an unloving way, then you're not doing your job as a parent. Your actions, your words always need to express love, right? Because love is how you're going to make things good with your kids. And I know they're struggling, like I empathize. I get the struggle. I know, like the teenage years, the toddler years are hard, and the teenage years are hard. Those are the two hardest times in our kids' lives. That's when they actually need us the most, too. So the teenage years are hard because they rebel, they argue. Like my teenager argues with me all the time, right? But you know what? It is part of their development. Their brain, if you do any research on the teenage brain has a very overactive amygdala, right? So it's the emotion part of the brain. So they're very reactive, right? And they are very emotional. So if we understand that, then we don't have to personalize their behavior or their arguing. We just don't engage in it. And we let them speak. And then we respond with love. Oh, I see you're having a hard time. You know, what can I do to make it better? Like, isn't that better? Like, doesn't that feel good? That feels good. Like when you parent relationally in a healthy way, it feels good. When you parent from an unhealthy way, it doesn't feel good. You feel bad about yourself. You feel guilty. You're like, oh, I shouldn't have yelled. Oh, I shouldn't have reacted that way, you know? So try to come from a place of love and care, and you will turn things around with your children. It'll happen.
Oh, I quite like that
Oh,
because you get what you give. All right. You can't expect love if you're spewing hate. And you literally can't be drinking poison and expecting somebody else to be hurt with it. It's just gonna hurt you. So that's not the way to live. And I'm not condoning or encouraging people to drink poison just so that other people get hurt. But you get my drift. Now,
yes.
and I can't
Yes.
thank you enough with the
Oh,
time that we have spent on here. Like I said earlier on, yes, we might call this an interview or a podcast, but I'm just, secretly getting a consultation, and I think I've walked away with so much to think about. And yeah, start putting into play because at the end of the day, it is still our kids, and we still need to show them that love. And if we're going to be wanting them to become better people in the future, we literally need to model that behavior because monkey see, monkey do. And
yes.
at the end of the day, if we want a better future, we need to start creating it. And the only way is to, yeah, be that mindful parent. I can't thank you
Yes.
enough for those
Oh,
words and just that insight, and also you sharing your experiences with us today on the Online Prosperity Show. It's been a pleasure, having a chat with you.
thank you so much, Prosper. I've enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And for those that are watching right now, I hope you are taking copious amounts of notes. If you weren't, I encourage you to watch this episode again and again and again, because there's so much that you would have missed out on. And I usually have this aha moments every time I rewatch something of this caliber because, people like Anne, if you don't get them in shows like this, you're going to be paying not only financially but in kind because your kids are not going to be behaving in the way that you absolutely want to. So take heed. I mean, it's only for your own betterment because so many people end up blaming society instead of looking within, and it all starts with us. And most of us have been through so much generational trauma, that has been passed on from our parents and things of that nature. And as Anne has also agreed with me that yes, they were going through what they were going through, but you don't have to engage with that. So the buck really has to stop with you because the future generations really need parents that are there for them, parents that are caring, and parents that show unconditional love. Now, Anne, did I say that correctly? Because um,
It's amazing. Good job.
absolutely. Maybe I should start applying to come and work with you because I'm now an expert in parenting, as you can tell, just from this masterclass. So if you want the expertise that I've now just gathered, I suggest that you subscribe to the show, never miss an episode, And experts like Anne are always out here to give us the unconditional love and information that you need to be, do, and have a happier existence. Now, be sure to check out her Masterful Parenting Program. And yeah, subscribe to that, or join the course. It's 9 easy steps that I think, it's a small sacrifice to pay in order for you to actually enjoy your relationships with the kids. And I'll definitely put those links in the show notes below. Now, until next time, I think this has been a wonderful show, and I can't thank you enough.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. And to those that are watching right now, keep spreading that unconditional love, because your kids cannot get that anywhere else. Bye for now.